I wanted to go back and revisit the conversation that we have a lot in human design, the conversation about what is deconditioning and why is deconditioning so important. It's kind of a weird term, right? It's a term we throw about a lot, like we do in a lot of human design. We have like these terms or these ideas or these sort of labels that we throw out in human design, which I actually have a lot of big feelings about. But that being said, I think deconditioning is a really important thing for us to be exploring. Here's a different way of thinking about deconditioning beyond just looking at how do my open centers operate in the world. So traditional human design talks a lot about deconditioning being the process of learning to understand how your open centers work. And while that is absolutely and definitely one part of deconditioning, that means learning how to use your open centers so that you don't basically become hijacked in your openness by other people's energies. That's not the only way we get deconditioned. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the process of clarifying our story. So let's start first and talk about what exactly is conditioning and what are some of the things that influence our conditioning and what are some things we can do to decondition. So the way I like to think about conditioning is sort of like this. And this is actually sort of loosely based on a quotation that I love from Viktor Frankl. And I'm going to paraphrase it. This isn't exactly how he says it, but basically he says, the only thing you have control over is the distance between stimulus and response. You can control how you respond to life. But that's a nice concept that's not always so easy to do, right? So if you think about a stimulus, something that happens in your life, and then you think about how you respond to it, there's a gap there, right? And in that gap is sort of a regulatory system, if you will, a story, a narrative that's going to influence how you react to the stimulus. So if you have in your story, let's say, money and a fear of not having enough money, so you have maybe some lack consciousness in your story, you believe that maybe you're not enough or you can't have enough or you don't have the energy for work or you can't make enough money or money is something that's elusive to you, whatever it might be in this story. When you encounter something in life, let's say the rent is due, right? Your response to the rent, especially if you don't have the money, for example, might be to freak out, right? Might be to, if you have your own business, go put something on sale. If you have a job, maybe you go run and get a second job. Maybe you ask to borrow some money. Maybe you just panic. There's a lot of different ways that we could respond to rent is due, right? The way in which we respond to it is going to be influenced by the story we tell about ourselves, the story we tell about money, the story we tell about power, the story we tell about our self-worth, the story we tell about possibility, and even at its heart, at the root of the root of the root, the story we tell about trusting in our sufficiency, trusting in source, trusting in a benevolent universe that has our back, right? So conditioning is really everything that happens to you. That's the experiences you have with your family. That's your human design chart, the shadow part and the good parts. That's your ancestral lineage. That's your genetic programming. That's your intergenerational family patterns and even past life stuff. All of that is sort of in the middle between stimulus and response. All of that stuff makes up the story that you tell about who you are. So who you are, who you believe yourself to be, the beliefs you hold, the conditioned patterns you have, the past experiences you've had, the past emotional artifacts from your past experiences, and the trauma you might still be carrying, all of that goes into the story you tell yourself and the world about who you are. And all of that is regulating your response to stimulus. To decondition, we have to get into this gap. And we have to start exploring the question, who am I? Who am I telling the world that I am? What story am I telling? What parts do I believe? What parts do I not believe? How do I get control over this story? And of course, human design is a great tool to help us get control over that story. So your human design to me is like a Rolodex. It's a card file or a database of all the different potential parts of the story, your story, And our chart, of course, tells us a lot about what's in the curriculum or what are we here to grow from or learn from in our individual stories. And deconditioning is the process of gaining control over that story. How do we go from reacting to life to reacting based on the old story that doesn't fit anymore, that doesn't work anymore, that doesn't give us control over how we respond. It keeps us reacting instead of deliberately choosing our response. How do we rewrite that story? And of course, that story, we can rewrite it by telling a different one, telling a better one. Sometimes we also have to rewrite it on the epigenetic level. Sometimes we literally have to get in there and reprogram ourselves on a genetic level, which is actually why we use EFT a lot in quantum alignment system, because the EFT, the tapping, actually has been proven, scientifically proven, to shift and change gene regulation. And it's a powerful tool to help us start to deprogram some of our ancestral genetic programming so that we can bring ourselves back into alignment with the idea that we are designed to be abundant. We're designed to be supported. We're designed to be fulfilled and powerful and empowered and to have a voice and to be authentic and to be the full expression of who we are. So some of what we have to do is decondition the old lineage. Some of what we have to do is tell a different story. Some of what we have to do, and this is why I love quantum human design, is to consciously choose the story we want for ourselves, which is, again, to me, that's the power of human design. And part of what we have to do, and this is sometimes the harder work, sometimes what we have to do is we have to look at not only the story we tell about ourselves, but what is in our story about our relationship with, and I'm going to use the word God, but please insert any word that you feel comfortable with: God, source, the universe, the quantum field, whatever you want to put into that sentence. We have to have a healthy relationship with source. We have to trust that the inherent bias of the cosmos is that we are designed to move towards unity, meaning we're designed to better connect and love each other in an unconditional way, that we are designed to be in a state of coherence, meaning we are designed to be at peace in the flow of the creative process, deeply connected to life's intelligence moving through us, and we're designed to grow. We're designed to evolve towards higher states of organization and complexity. That's evolution, and that's the nature of how the cosmos organizes itself, and it's organizing itself through us. I think, and I don't know if this is true, and I don't want to say we're the only thing in the whole universe that has the capacity to resist the nature of the cosmos. That might not be true. I don't know. But certainly, at least on this planet, we are the only species that can go against the ordered nature of the cosmos. We're the only species on this planet that can go, that's fine, God, thanks, but I got this. I'll do it. We are the only species that can try to take control of the story and consciously direct our organization, consciously direct our life path. My dogs, as much as I love them, they are really not sitting around contemplating their growth and evolution. They might be contemplating, is it almost snack time? Are you sure it's not snack time? Wait, there's a squirrel in the backyard, right? But they're not consciously cultivating a life path and a life direction that's, in alignment with life's intelligence unfolding through them. They do it anyway. They do it naturally. That's their job, right? Their job is to be here and just anchor love everywhere they go. And at the same time, they can't do it consciously, but we can. We can. We have the ability to consciously and deliberately engineer our direction and our course. And to do that in a way that brings us or keeps us in alignment with life's intelligence, we have to have a good relationship with Source. We have to trust that we are enough to be loved by Source. We have to trust that we are enough to be supported by Choice. We have to trust that we are worthy of hearing the whisperings of Source in our ear, and for us to be able to act on that consciously and deliberately. So this is actually part of what we do in the quantum alignment system is we get in there and we get underneath the story, underneath all the archetypes in the chart, go underneath, and we look at the 9 resiliency keys, which are the 9 base archetypes that make you consciously be able to regulate how you choose to live your chart. We look at, how does your sense of lovability, how does your sense of empowerment, How does your self-trust? How does your courage or fear in the shadow of it? How does your authenticity or your fear of being authenticity? Um, how does your emotional wisdom? How does your decisiveness? How does your self-worth and how does your energy impact your chart? And when we can live out the highest expression of all those elements, then we live out the highest expression of our charts. I thank you all for keep showing up and keep really doing the work of writing your story, of consciously taking your control back over your own story and owning your story and using the beauty and the brilliance of your story to add to the beauty and the brilliance of the stories of others so that we can shift not only our own personal narrative, but keep shifting the narrative of the world. The world needs us to strengthen that narrative, to make it loud enough and big enough and all encompassing enough so that we can shift this world as quickly and as peacefully and as beautifully as possible.